All right, welcome back everybody to another live stream of the Alternative Cycling Network. I'm Russ, one of your hosts, and I'm joined today by my co-host. We've got Mike from Locked In, Eric Spinney from SpinNet, and special guest, Zach Gallardo. Yay!
Yay!
It's been a while.
All that stuff still works.
Yeah, everyone's dusting off their live streaming gear. But today we're going to tackle a very divisive and controversial topic. And I know it's divisive and controversial because I posted the topic on the gram, and a lot of people had a lot of things to say.
And you got paragraphs.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, people went all in, and this is like we've not even made any content yet. This is just an Instagram post. But today we're going to talk about the notion of bicycle elitism, what it is. We're going to do a little role playing and have each of us kind of play act the role of the specific different groups and factions, and kind of try to have I feel like, conversation about it instead of just a lot of fist shaking.
Yeah.
So first off, I'm curious. Let's go really quickly around, and what would be your definition of a bicycle elitist, and then I'll bring up the term last. So Mike, how about you kick it off?
I think it's just somebody who's obviously just narrow-minded about other forms of cycling, and that their version of what they think, is best is gospel. Like, there's no other questions, there's no other types of riding, there's no other styles, there's no other standards, and they're just like stuck in this narrow-mindedness of, what I do is the only way that's pure to whatever form of cycling they like.
Right. How about you, Eric? Do you have a definition for when you hear bicycle elitist, what do you think?
So I would say, like, more of an individual thing where like that person might think their gear, the way they ride, whatever, is superior to others. Maybe not necessarily category to category, but like in a category, there might be more people who think they're better than other people in that category. And that's it. That's the end of my thought.
Okay, Zach,
that wasn't a freeze.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's like there's these people that do things a certain way, and they think that their way is the correct way, and that the gear that they have is the correct gear. And if you don't have that or do that in that particular way, then you're wrong and somehow a lesser person than them. And by the way, my bike is cooler than all of yours, and I'm
it has less gears. How can that be so?
It makes me a better person.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's definitely this sense of superiority, of putting others down, of shaming other people. What about where does money come in? Does owning like a blingy part or a blingy bike make you de facto elitist, or is it just you have a blingy part?
I think that's split. I think it really does depend. I've seen both sides. I've seen, really boutique-y stuff on guys who they've been in it so long, or they've ridden for the last who knows X amount of years, that they've just acquired something, or like the hand-me-down, custom, very boutique frame set or something from their dad that he was riding, when it was new. So I think it's definitely a split, but there are those like handful of items, depending on the genre you look like or are in, that if you have, you assume that person's going to be kind of an ass. Like, like it's not, there's no like set amount of parts or whatever, but it's just like, you see a certain type of rider and you're like, they are probably not going to be pleasant to conversate with. So
how about you, Eric? Where do you fall on the expensive parts, expensive bike? Does that make you de facto an elitist?
It doesn't. Okay. There's certain kinds of expensive parts. I think the like obvious ones, like from the big three, when you see like an $18,000 version of one of the big three where there's no thought put into it, I think you could safely, possibly make the assumption that it's like, oh man, this guy's he's better than me. But like because there's other parts that are a lot more, that are a little more, I don't want to say boutiquey, but like, there's expensive parts that are from smaller companies that are maybe more appreciated by someone who is more, I don't know, who's into cycling and has the money, but that's not the reason, that they're not trying to show off. So they're not looking for something from a noticeable big brand. So they're like, well, I'm going to appreciate the smaller expensive company over here and keep it away from the general public, because that's not who I'm trying to impress. Maybe I'm trying to impress. Impress is even the wrong word, but like, maybe I'm just trying to appreciate some nice parts from without showing, like, I don't want to be so showy. But then there's definitely like, I don't know, seeing a big logo on a down tube. That's like,
how about you, Zach? Is there, is there Fixie flexing with certain components? Is that being elitist?
Oh yeah, there's definitely Fixie flexing. But the thing is, it always comes down to the individual. If somebody can appreciate the Fixie flex parts, but not be an elitist. Like, you can have super baller NJS setup, but just have it because you enjoy riding that bike and it brings you happiness, not because you're trying to impress other people and show that you're better than other people. It really comes down to the individual. Just owning something doesn't put somebody in that category. People can spend their money however they want. And if you have a lot of money and that's the way spending it makes you happy, by all means, go for it.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that, because I'm like a nerd at heart. Like, when I get into something, I get into something. Like, when I got into watercolors, I bought, the same colored paint from 5 different brands and did all these tests. And some of them were expensive and, whatever. But that's just my personality. And the thing is, like, if, people ask me for painting advice, and, I'll recommend kind of totally cool beginner stuff. I don't like rub it in their face, but I like to get into that granularity. And I appreciate that not everyone is like that. But I feel like if, you shouldn't necessarily crucify a person because they're, they like a interesting part or from a smaller maker.
And I think we all have like an example of that, though, in my opinion. Like, okay, Eric's specialized, your sprint, right? Yes. It's a sprint. Yeah. Like, granted, it's like, I know it has a 10-speed Dura-Ace on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that bike, if it was, let's say it was new, if I saw a guy on a all black, like, matte black Dura-Ace spec road bike in like a shop's kit, I'd assume probably going to be not pleasant to talk to. But yours being like fluoro orange, and I can't tell on camera. It's like yellow fork with is it orange or red? You haven't seen it in a while.
It's
so again, brightly colored. You got the super Kaz or whatever matching bar tape. Like, that's like, that guy's cool. Like, he's got money, but he enjoys like something different, because I think a lot of, like, I think the best way to put it is that the no imagination basically is like, you get the top end spec matte black bike in the nicest thing you can buy. And I've worked at many a shops where some dude just comes in and wants like whatever, but that guy who orders that frame, they only sold that like in a frame set or something like that. It's somebody who cares. And when you're in the industry or in cycling long enough, you can kind of pick out those people. And then like Zach, like today, or you post on your Instagram with like that chain ring that you bought. Like, yeah, exactly. That's perfect. Yeah, that's it. Like, no one's gonna care like 90% of the time.
Ooh, but it makes me happy.
I'm gonna see that, and I'm gonna be like, this guy knows what's up. Like, it could be on a rusted out steel Kilo TT. I'm like, that guy's rad, because like that, like, it's just, there's a split, where you see certain things on certain bikes where it makes sense for that type of person you assume would ride that bike. And then you see the like thought process, at least for me, of where I'm like, okay, no, that person, it like gets it, or isn't like on this upper echelon that we can all aspire to be, then never get to.
Right. So here's a question. Have you guys ever been, I imagine, have you guys ever been accused of being elitist on your respective YouTube channels?
No, never. Every day.
So how do you respond to that? And do you consider yourself a bike elitist?
Maybe to those people I am, and I think you could make the argument that I am a bike elitist, and the way I respond to them is I don't, because I'm better than them.
I will crush them beneath me. Yeah.
Comment elitist. How about you, Eric? Have you ever been called an elitist on your channel, or do you consider yourself a bike elitist?
No, I don't think I ever have been. I've been way too careful to try and be as inclusive with the stuff that I work on, the stuff that I ride, the way that I approach everything. I do hit like pretty well everything with a hammer, so it's like I've always intended to maintain somewhat approachable, almost to like my own detriment. Like I would hold off on like showing certain things because I'm like, well, geez, like what's the audience going to think of this? And I struggled with that for like ever. Obviously I'm kind of over that now because I have some of the stuff that I have now. But no, I don't, like, I've been so soft with like showing, anything expensive or flaunting it. Nor have I ever had to like spend like retail on any of my nice stuff anyway. So it's like, usually if I get it, it's like someone who is in a much more privileged monetary position than I am was like, I'm done with this. Here you go, peasant. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I never would have had this before. But like that is the LA, like the Vigarelli too. Even any of my nice bikes, like I've gotten from these people who are like, I'm done with this. I'm upgrading. Like, away with you. Get this away from me. And I just happen to be there to pounce each time.
You have like an alert set on Craigslist or something, or what's your technique?
Well, I mean, I'm on my phone a lot, so it's like when the LA came up, and I mentioned this when I made the bike fleet video, but it was like I would get up at 4:30, 5 a.m. every day for work because I wanted to edit videos before I went to work. So I'm just like waiting for coffee. And I scroll past this loud looking LA and I'm like, oh, there's an LA Sprint for sale for $1,500 Canadian. And I was like, oh, it's probably just trash, like whatever. But $1,500 for just that frame set is almost pretty good. And then like I looked at it and I was like, whoa, Reynolds wheels, NV bar, like full Durace. And I was like, I have to buy this. And I sent him a message. Like I just sent him a message like right away. I was like, hey, is it available? I'm going to buy it. What's your email? And I e-transferred him right then, 5 a.m. I was like, here.
Yep.
And I did not have $1,500. I took it out of my line of credit and I kept it a secret from Angela for like a month. Like I was like, shit, man, this bike is red and all of my bikes are black. I can't even bring it inside.
Oh man, that Eric, like I have one short story like for that, but like the best thing is what he says is it's if you want a deal, you're on Craigslist or OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace every single day, multiple times a day, and you will get the rare like items like that where you'll see stuff that's either listed wrong or it doesn't make any sense. Like I remember back in the day, I bought a Head 3 like specialized or Head 3 or as a specialized tri-spoke. I forgot what brand it was, but it was listed as an aero spoke. So it was like half the price because the guy didn't know what it was. And I bought it and flipped it and made some money. But my favorite, Eric, for that is like I had a guy that came into my bike shop once. He's like, what's your nicest red road bike? I'm like, sir, like, why you need a red road bike? He's like, because like my wife 10 years ago said I can buy, like, I told her I was going to buy a road bike and she thought it was way too much money. He said, well, if this is going to last you for like, forever, like it's fine. So he only can buy red road bikes to replace it. And so that's all he could do. So he would sell it, and he would, but also like same day go to a bike shop and buy like the nicest red road bike they had. And it didn't matter the brand, it was whatever. He would just research the nicest bikes in red, and that's all he did. And the second best version of that was some guy came in and he bought a mountain bike from me at a shop I was working at, and he's like, "Hey, I need a black full suspension mountain bike. I got a hardtail from you a couple months ago. I'm outgrowing it. I'm doing more rad trails." And then he went through the work to replace, because he had a different brand of bike, to replace it. So he got decals made in the wrong brand for that bike. So they both said Diamondback, like, even though like the second bike wasn't. And he just said, he's like, "Yeah, one lives outside the shed, one lives inside the shed. She only sees one in the garage. It's fine." Like, it was amazing. Yeah. It was the best.
I should get some Magna decals.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, how about you? Have you been accused of bicycle elitism, and do you consider yourself a bike elitist?
I don't think so. Only because like when I started, I did Fixie stuff, and I did a lot. Like I had a front brake, and that wasn't cool. And I also rode speed plays, which apparently I was like kind of known for, which was a weird pedal to ride. I don't know. I always just kind of did what I liked. No one's ever called me an elitist. Like I have a video about like why I don't ride Fixie or brakeless, and it's done view wise very well, but it's about like me tearing a ligament and just being like, no, I learned my lesson. Right. I don't know. I think the only thing I've been accused of is like they'll ask me stuff that like I won't be able to answer. Like it's more of just like, "Hey, well, what is this compared to this?" And I'm just like, I don't know. I haven't tried everything that ever has existed. Like, so I don't know. Like, you know, so it's more of that. I think now of just reviewing so many things over the years, there's like, well, this doesn't seem like a good deal compared to this, whatever it is. I'm just like, well, this is my opinion based on what I know. And this is it. But it's not like what I say is gospel, but also like, I don't put stuff on my channel that I don't enjoy. There's only been like a handful of items where I'm just like, this sucks, and I still make it, you know? So I think it's more of just like expecting my opinion to be worse, I guess, is I feel that is like a thing a lot more so than anything else. Yeah. But I'm just like, no, if I don't like it, I'll mention it. Or if I want something out of it, I'll say it. If I don't, it just means like it works okay. Things are a lot better than they were 30 years ago. So like, what do you expect? You know, like,
yeah. I don't know why. I'm not gonna say I get called an elitist often, but I've been called a drop bar elitist.
That was great. Yeah.
I did a review on those Pauls, and then I was elitist for reviewing those.
Yeah, you can't have nice parts either, Russ.
I know. Obviously. It's like unless I had like an all Walmart channel, there's no way to avoid it. But I think one thing that is interesting, Eric, like you mentioned, when I think all of us probably experienced this to some extent, but creating YouTube videos, we're already pre-anticipating the comments. So I never say this is the most ultimate best thing ever. You should totally buy this or you suck. I always say, I prefer, and kind of couch it in those terms, just because, first off, I don't think like one thing works for all people all the time. But also just to kind of avoid this, I don't know, coming off as someone that's so didactic about a particular bike thing. So do you guys find, I know Eric, you mentioned doing that, Zach, Michael, do you find yourself doing that as well? Or are you like, fuck it?
I have. I mean, for sure. I mean, it's something where I think doing it this long, like you're going to kind of know that if you make a certain style of video, you're going to get X amount of whatever. There are those one-off videos that I've made. I'm like, people just didn't get the point, and it's 6 months down the road and I'm still getting the same comment. But I think that if you've done a similar video and you're either doing an update or something in the relative category of it, you can kind of see it. Like, okay, this is something that people have always mentioned in the past version, so I'm going to try to mention and get ahead of it. Does it dictate what you say? No, it's just like, look, this is something like Eric, when you raid your video about the Poseidon and the Redwood, you're like, these are all the comments that I get. I'm going to answer them so I can just send you a link. Like, that's exactly what you're basically trying to do. Yeah. But in the video, it's just like, I'm trying to answer as much so that I don't get the same thing for the next 6 months, that I'm just responding to.
Right. about you, Zach? Do you pre-anticipate comments and making your content?
I always just try to make whatever I have fun making, and if people don't like it, then that's their problem. And that may sound elitist, and you'd be right. But
that's going to be the fifth category of the YouTube elitist. Like that's where we're going. Yeah.
Yeah, but when I'm anticipating comments, I always try to explain where I'm coming from. Like, these are my preferences, these are my biases, and people are welcome to disagree with me.
Right. I did a video on why I still think 650B is super viable, and I think someone called me an elitist there for preferring that.
the supplest is that
yeah. And I think a lot of people use the word elitist when they disagree with someone, and they're not necessarily being elitist, but they disagree with their opinion, and it's just a way for them to stab them in the gut with a dagger.
I mean, thinking about that, I've certainly had, like, there's a lot of people who take a lot of, they have a lot of problems with me slamming just every bike. Like, out of the box, boom, slammed. And people are like, you didn't even try it. And I'm like,
I don't need to.
Like, I know that it's going to be fine. And also it looks sick. So, like, give me a break.
I think that's also very true of like for me, when I build a bike, like the next build that I'm doing, it's essentially not cookie cutter, but I know my fit. So like, I don't have to second guess anything, or I'll get comments like Eric did on, I forgot what video it was. I was building a bike, like in the background. It was an unboxing. It was either for the State or the Poseidon. I don't remember which one. And I intentionally slammed the stem all the way down. Somebody commented like, didn't even try it. Just flipped it upside down and put it all the way to the bottom. And I was like, yep. I know, it's just how it goes. And it's really funny. Like, I did a seat post review the other day, and I mentioned in the video, this is only offered in 360 millimeters. So if you have a hardtail or a mountain bike, it might not be long enough. And I got a comment today where no 400 millimeter, not for me. I'm like, I mentioned that for a reason, because because every bike has usually 350. So this will fit most people, I don't know what you want, man. I literally responded back, sorry, I don't work for the company. I don't make this decision. That was like, what do you want me to do with that? The
best thing that can happen in that situation is when you get the comment, you get the notification on your phone, and you're like, it's still fresh in your mind. You're like, oh, here we go. And then the comment is deleted by the time you get to it.
Yeah, by the time you open it.
Gotten to that part of the video, and they're like, oh, God damn it, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. That's my favorite. Oh my God. That's the best.
Nice. All right, YouTube comments. If you guys, we've got about 100 people in there. If you guys have any questions or thoughts on bicycle elitism, let us know in the comment section, and also let us know where you're watching from. Love to see where everybody is at. So I think so far, I'm gonna try to summarize that. There's, at least it sounds like from the definitions you guys gave. So there's an aspect of trying to put someone down, of trying to be superior than everyone. I think we've established that, you can own a nice thing, but as long as you're not a super jerk about flexing it, then it's not necessarily bad.
Yeah, just don't peacock. Like, you don't need to be peacocking all the time.
Yeah.
And that sounds reasonable to me so far. So let's see where people are coming in from. All right, you got John from Tampa, Ben from Michigan, San Jose in the house, New Mexico. Let's see, Minneapolis, Jax, Florida. So Eric, you can't be an elitist if you work in a shed.
You can be. Mine's an insulated shed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's got a heater. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have a heater in my garage. You're like
I'm better than you.
temperature elitist.
Yeah, Russ is gonna need like a Parka sponsorship pretty soon there, during half the year.
Nice. Who else? Let's see. Twin Cities, London.
Sure.
Yay! We have a international viewer.
And
Boston,
host.
Massachusetts. Sweet. So I thought we should try this topic just because in some weird way it's lined up that we all kind of represent a particular style of riding per se, either by accident or by design. When let's say I'm gonna be the hipster tourist, Mike, you're gonna play the roadie, Eric
Sure.
will stand in for both BMX and mountain biking, and Zach the bikes with no gears, what are they called, the fixed gear bikes, within your respective our respective group. What are some elitist things that some riders may do some of the time but not all riders?
I'll start, I guess, with the roadie. Like I used to be like, just exclusively ride road. Like I transitioned from fixed gear to road, and then now for more gravel stuff. But I totally get it. Like I would say back in the day I totally had elitist tendencies, let's call it. So for me, if like I see a guy on a Durace or like SRAM ETAP now, like S-Works, like I do not expect a wave. I do not expect a handhold. I expect them to draft me until I die. And then when I slow down to like take a second breather behind them, that they're either going to slow down and pull over to take an Instagram photo, or they're going to like hella sprint all the way as hard as they can to drop me to show that they're better than I am. That's one thing. Next is like the super flex of just like part drip, like where it's just nothing makes sense. You have this like super aero bike with like non-aero wheels. You got your Giro Air Attack helmet, and then you have like a saddlebag that looks like it could hold like your weekend of groceries. Like it's a weird mix of people that are like aren't friendly. Like I pre-COVID, like you could talk to people and enjoy it. Like when you're out on the road and you're just like, dude, this headwind sucks. Like hold my wheel. I'll pull for a little bit. Like, and then you do some work and then we'll get to the Starbucks just as fast, but we won't be as tired. Like that's all you want to do. But there's just some people who just like, they'll look back and then they'll just like dismiss you. Like there was one 100-mile charity ride, it was a charity ride. And there was some dude on a Canyon full aero road 88 mil Reynolds wheels, and I was on my steel custom road bike, but like it doesn't look like much. It didn't have deep wheels. I was in a Pokemon kit with Pokemon ball socks on. Like I was not looking hard, and this dude's in full aero helmet, like TT and everything. And I was holding his wheel. I couldn't pass him, but I could hold his wheel because he was like going for it. And he keeps looking behind me, and I got 35s on, like tan walls, like, my noodly little bike and a handlebar bag, that's huge. And he's just like trying to drop me. And I'm just like, I'm just laughing. It's like, I can hold his wheel. That's all I can do. But all his buddies behind me are cackling because they're like, dude, he's so pissed. Like, cause just like, who cares? It's a charity ride. Like, dude, if you're getting held on your wheel by a guy in a Pokemon kit, like why flex? Like there's no reason, And so that's like, there's certain stigmas with that of just like, you don't look fast enough to like be in my airspace essentially. Yeah. And then it's just like, dude, like I have not a non-aero everything. And, like, and again, I'm in a Pokemon kit. Like who like, you really think I'm trying to like kill this 100-mile charity ride that's on the river trail? Like, dude, no one's going to get a KOM today. Like you're fine. Like, it's all right, man. I'm going to get an Uncrustable in like 10 minutes, like at the park stop. Like that's, like who are you trying to impress? Like there's, so I think there's a lot of that gets really annoying. And, I think that's where I could say the only thing that was elitist back in the day for me when I was a road biker was just like, if it was lighter, it was better. Didn't care. Like I rode 23s even though my bike fit 25s, because I was, big tire back in the day, of just like, oh no, because it 10 grams each difference. Are you kidding? Like, no, I rode the lightweight tubes, even though I had to change a tube like almost every ride because it was worth the 30 grams. Like that's, and just like, oh no, it's worth it because the time difference I make up as well as all the tubes I change, it all works out. It all works out. When I'm doing that one climb and I'm saving those 40 grams, totally worth it. So like that was it. It just, when I bought new like carbon wheels, what were the lightest thing that I could get? Like I got Zip 202s. I didn't get 303s because those were like 150 grams more. Like even though I rode flats 90% of the time, that it probably would have been faster. Nope, weighed more. Like that was it. So nice. I elitist tendencies I could say, but for my own thing. Yeah.
How about you, Zach? In the Fixie world, what are some weird kind of Fixie elitist flexes that some people do, but not all people, because we're not generalizing?
Yeah. So even from the very beginning, the entry point of getting into fixed gear bikes, I was exposed to fixed gear elitism. Firstly, a lot of fixed gear riders think that fixed gear is just hands down the best type of riding, and if you ride anything else, then you're a sellout and
you're weak.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
you need gears. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's one thing. It's like, oh, my legs are my gears. I'm better than you. And like, even when I was just shopping around for just like a basic $300 fixed gear, it was like, there's those two camps where it's like, these fixed gear riders, they did their research and they bought at least a Chromoly fixed gear. And these fixed gear riders, they didn't do their research and they just bought whatever looked cool at Urban Outfitters. And the ones that did the research always held it over the ones that didn't do the research, that they had better bikes than them. And this goes all the way up the price spectrum. It's like, oh, I have, I could be elitist, like, oh, I have a fancy Reynolds 725 bike. You only have 4130 chromo, and then someone else could be like, oh, well, I have a stainless steel bike, and then someone else could be like, oh, well, I have a titanium little wing. It's like, it just keeps going and going for gear. And then another type of elitism is the gear ratio elitism, which I just made a video on yesterday. Go check it out after the stream.
Shameless plug. Sliding in there.
And it's so dumb because I've seen this particularly with younger riders. They're always so curious about what gear ratio others are riding. And but only to say, oh, but mine's bigger. I have 5311. I don't care. No, riding at 35 RPM doesn't matter. My gear ratio is bigger.
Nice. So definite. My chainring is bigger than yours. Going on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Eric, I'm curious in the BMX space. Are there any like weird like BMX elitist flex?
Yeah, definitely. Like back, when I was a lot more into it, there was a time when like if you did like, let's say I'm going to say 15 years ago, like a video part would have skate parks in it. And then there was like this change that it's like, if you can't get a full 3.5 minute video part of just street, then it's not worth like shooting at all. Skate parks are for training, learning, whatever, tinkering around. The street is where you film your video parts. And then, there's the divide between like street riders and then the people who aspire to like ride park and do like contests. So there's like video part riders and then there's like contest riders. And it's like one guy's riding gyro, one guy's riding 4 pegs and brakeless with like a free coaster. And like both of those guys, like they might not at all in the same lifetime be able to do what the other guy can do. And like, that creates a bit of animosity where it's like, well, doing a front flip stupid, doing a flare whip is stupid. But like, so is doing a half cab bar spin into a Smith to like, hard 180ing out. Like sometimes like some people like to watch slow riding on ledges. Other people like to, generally dads, like to watch like, you know, stuff where it looks like someone could die. And you know, the stuff where people look like they're going to die tend to make a lot more money.
And more views. And more views on the YouTube.
But like, you know, those guys also, like, their careers are a lot shorter too, it seems like, because it's gotten too crazy. Like the park stuff has gotten so crazy that, like, you know, nowadays if you do crash, you're getting pretty hurt. But then, you know, street did the same sort of thing, like people jumping down, you know, 25, 30 stair sets, you know, and like not having any hands, you know, doing tail whips and threeing down, stuff like that. Some kids can do it just like without even thinking. Others obviously, you know, don't have quite that natural ability. And it just, all of it terrifies me. Every single time I see someone, like anytime I've had to watch stuff like that in person, I'm like, you're all insane. And I don't understand how you have no self-preservation skills whatsoever. And like, that made me feel better than them. Like, that was just another, I was like, I need to go to work. And I don't know what you guys do for a living, but like, I have a job and that makes me better than you.
I think having a job for BMXers, I think that's elitist. I think that's, you know, is
Yeah,
that a fair
like,
statement? Yeah.
I'm employable. You are not.
So, you know, when I posted on the gram, people were very upset even before we created any content. It was just a thumbnail, people, just a thumbnail. So
and a caption.
Yeah. Definitely something that hits a lot of people's hot button. Is there, I mean, to my mind, I mean, well, I'm curious about what you guys think. Do you think there's any way to get rid of bicycle elitism amongst different groups?
No, like I'm literally like, while, you know, Mike and Zach both were talking, I'm like going into my shell a little bit, just like thinking of all the cringy times that I've done literally everything they said.
Oh yeah. I mean, no, I think even the older generation, like I have one great example with my uncle, like he used to, like, I mean, he was a down tube shifter guy into the 2000s something. And then I like had a compact crankset and he was like,
Yeah,
like you can't ride up a hill. Like you need that. And then I sold him my old group set eventually. And he's like, oh, this is great. You know, and then now I show up in my 1x bike and all of his buddies who are been riding, same thing. Like, they're just like, what the hell is that big ass cassette in the back? I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have the one ring in the back. And then but the crossover and they're just like, can you even go fast? You know, because I see like the 42 or whatever in the back. They're like, there's no way you can keep up on this ride. Like, they looked at me and like, I remember the first time I rode with them and they looked at my bike and they just like looked at me and they're like, oh, you're going to join tomorrow? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, good luck. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you know, just
thanks.
And yeah, so it was just, it's funny. And I think with gravel, that's even there, like with your front chainring size, it's just like, no, man, I can't push a 40 up a 15% grade climb for 3 hours. Like, I can't do that, you know, like, so yeah.
Chainring size is like a weird thing. A lot of people, it's a weird hill people will die on. Like,
it's a big flex. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, you know, I did a ranty video a couple years ago on, you know, why road gearing on the gravel bike is dumb. And I got so many comments like, oh, you just did, you know, weak ass legs, blah, blah, blah. Work out in the gym, bro. And then a year later, Subcompact came out with Shimano.
Yep.
You're like, what did I say? What did I say? But I'll be honest, like, when people, like, anytime that I post a picture of the LA, the chainring size comment does come up. And like, I'd be lying if I didn't get a small shot of dopamine because of it. Because it's like it's pro. It's pro.
It's like 52.39 or something.
It's 50,
and then with like what
53.39.
And then it's what 11.25 in the back.
Yeah, That or a 28. It's probably
Yeah.
That's probably
well,
25.
that's not pro. 23 is pro. 25 is almost semi-pro. 28 weak.
Yeah,
Weak
that's
sauce.
touring.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's touring bike
Touring
stuff.
bike?
Might as well ride it as a gravel bike. It's a gravel bike at this point.
Why don't you just put a rack on it?
Yeah, just put a rack on it and just give up. Yeah.
Just angle a mug.
Yeah.
But
So
like,
here's a
yeah,
interesting
definitely.
comment. Do you find, we're all, I feel like, a little bit older. Have you gotten less elitist the longer you've been into bikes? And when you were younger, were you a little bit more spicy on that end?
I certainly was, and it was all because I had something to prove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like,
I think that's a lot of it.
I was like, I'm just new at this, and like my bike is trash. It was trash. Like it literally came out of the trash, and well, you guys know, I fucking welded part of a seat to it. Like I'm sitting on part of what that bike was. And I was like, I have more to do to prove to people around here than someone who has a more legit looking bike. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's where my naivety and like ridiculousness and the dumb decisions I'm going to make, where I'm going to try and drop someone, or I'm going to try and stay on someone's wheel. That's where that came from. And this was something I was thinking before we were like gonna start, is like, I don't think there's any one category or group of people in a type of cycling that are the most elite, but there's people at a certain skill level or fitness level with a certain level of bike who are gonna feel like they're not so that they don't have anything to prove anymore. You can buy gear, so like you can buy your way into that. You can't buy your way into being like legitimately physically more fit and faster than someone. So like, you get to this point where you're like, I've got the same gear as the fast guys. I'm not as fast, but I'm still more fit than the newer riders who maybe don't have the gear. And that's a toxic level of bike ownership and skill level where you're like, you're like, I'm better than you, and it's part of the bike and it's part because of me. So
that's called no man's land. That's when you're in the group ride and you're in the middle with no one to draft, and you're just like, this sucks. And
I think I was there for a long time. Like I think, I've always been Teagra 105 level bike rider, physically and bike wise, like always. And I think that kept me in a spot where I was just like, I think I've always been marginally approachable, but I've always been bad decision, somewhat prick to people I didn't know on the road.
Right.
And like, while I'm not called an elitist on YouTube comments, certainly on the road where people didn't know me, they're probably like, oh, fucking prick.
How about you, Zach? Did you have early elitist tendencies? Have they grown?
For sure. I would say that I've grown out of my elitism, and to dive further into that question, I would say that elitism actually comes from a good place, but it's just a manifestation that is kind of and the good place that it comes from is that people are so passionate about cycling. They're so passionate about it that they're always wanting to learn more about cycling and to optimize their experience riding their bike. Where elitism comes in is that they take their own experience and try applying that to someone else. Mm-hmm. And so what I've learned just getting older is like, people are different. I can't like, if you like a bike because you like the color of it, that's fine. If that makes you happy and that makes you want to ride the bike, that's a good thing. And yeah, I've definitely grown out of it just because I stopped caring what other people think.
They're very helpful.
Let's see. Did you answer this question, Mike? Have you gotten more or less elitist as you've?
Like I said, I had my tendencies. I had the like quintessential fixed gear back in the day. I had a Cannondale track. Like that was like my dream bike, and I built it nice. Like it had all Dura-Ace parts, even a Dura-Ace quill stem, which for those who don't know, very difficult to find. But like Dura-Ace hubs, Mavic wheels. Didn't have Dura-Ace cranks. That was like the last thing we ended up selling it. But anyways. But I had a front brake on it, and it ruined everybody's day. Every single person's. And I'm just like, bro, this is my dream frame. I look good as shit on this thing, and I don't care because y'all can't flex as hard as I'm flexing right now. But then I threw a brake on it because I tore a ligament because I rode it so much, and everyone's like losing their fucking minds. And I was like, well, I tried. So it just like, I grew out of it because I'm just like, you know what? Like, I can only enjoy this bike with a brake because like physically cannot ride this thing brakeless anymore. And I can't afford or had the time to do track riding only on it. So like that for me was the first like break in it where it's like, all right, well, I also, you know, it wasn't mommy and daddy's money. It was me working and flipping bikes for like 3 years and starting my YouTube channel to get that bike. Like it was all through trade ups or flipping or whatever it was. Sold that. And then I had my biggest flex that me and Zach talked about and on the episode we did together was I had that and a BMC track machine at the same time. Biggest flex of my life. And I got that BMC from Nate, who's an Olympian, who's like local to me. And then flipped that thing later when I was like, I can't afford both bikes. Sold the Cannondale. And then I was like, all right, I need to get a road bike because my body is like, I need a break from this. So like it was just a realization. So I think everybody either has an age thing or a circumstance that eventually happens for most, unless they just have like unlimited funds and it doesn't matter. Then I think those scenarios aren't going to happen. If I could afford a $10,000 bike every year with like no thought process, very different thought process in general of my life. And those things are not a factor. I've had a guy come into my bike shop who said, I get dropped on my S-Works Roubaix, so I would like a Venge. And then he would refuse to wear a bib. So I'm like, dude, if you just switched to like a bib short and like a fitted jersey, you would be as fast as this like $10,000 bike you're buying. But that, in his mind, that's what worked. And I said, you know what? More power to you. I'm going to sell you a bike. So I just like, that's just how it goes. So again, it's thought process. When the guy walks in an Armani suit and an Aston Martin, I don't have those kind of privileges. I don't know what that's like. So the mindset is very different.
Nice. For me, I don't think I'm an elitist. I will say, like when I first got into cycling, it was I was that militant bike commuter, and I was very righteous about not owning a car for like 20 years. Running a business solely by bike. And I thought that was like the highest form of cycling, that everyone else just played with their weekend toys. But, a pure transportation cyclist was changing the world and doing good.
I think that's an elitist group though. Like the rain or snow when everyone's in their cars.
Yeah. So since then, I've started, we've done tours and gone into recreational riding, just riding bikes for fun without like having a higher mission statement in mind. Even dabbled in mountain biking. So like the older I get and the more types of cycling I've tried, I can see the different sides, different aspects of why people like one particular riding. And I try not to be too judgy. I do have opinions, but I don't I try not to press them on everyone, let's say. Right, here you go. See, hipster
yep.
Elitist.
I saw the party pace elitist. I think that's pretty good.
I know, who knew that saying okay ride slow could be elitist, but
hey, yeah.
There you go.
So Russ, you never had the because I remember when I commuted by bike, because I didn't have a car and I was working a few jobs like in college and out of college. Did you ever make or ever feel the tendency to you got to hammer because you got to like beat the cars or have like your commute time has to be like as close to a car time. Like, did you ever have that? Because it's very different for you, like spanning that distance of time.
No, I never had like an internal time thing, but like I could tell I would sometimes race cars, and I knew that I'd catch up to them because like I knew what the timing of the lights were. I was like, you're just an ass.
Yeah.
You think and I'm doing it with like a cargo bike.
Yeah.
Like sit on the front. It's like whatever.
The best part about cargo bikes is you can bump into cars. And be like, what do you want from me?
Yeah, but you have a buffer zone.
See you later.
Yeah.
Nice. So let's see. Do you got right? I'm the only elitist amongst this group. So
I think so. I think that's
guys.
yeah.
I'll be right back. My dog is having a fit.
I could see how maybe people would like think that of you, just on like the amount of like cool stuff you get to work with. There's some very, very familiar names that do pop up on your channel like pretty regularly. That like I think a lot of people would consider fairly desirable, and you get to play with it all.
Right.
So like I could see how some people, myself included, might be like, oh, Russ only gets to mess with like the good stuff. Where's my opportunity?
Right. But I also like love friction shifting,
Well,
like,
I know, and like I did, like
all baller. Like there's some things, some nice things I like, but I like some. My bikes
it's funny, that only became like wildly apparent to me in the last like 2 years when when I really started watching Path Less Pedal, and then we got closer by talking and doing this, and I was like, oh. Like, so there might be like unintended hello, like an unintended facade,
right?
That it's like, depending on what videos of yours pop up, it's like, well, this guy only messes with expensive stuff,
right?
Right. And I don't know if has your channel changed? Like, have you purposely made a small pivot to some more like attainable stuff? Like I don't know if it's like I started noticing it more because I started to get to know you, or if there was like a definite purposeful like, okay, we need to look at some like cheaper stuff here.
I mean, part of it is I don't think it was like my heart's in like kind of like hacky kind of things that are combine good value and good functionality. A lot of it was just access, and in some weird ways it was easier to get access to those brands than some of like the less expensive stuff because they were owned by like a larger company, and you had to go try to find the right PR person. So not intentional, but that I mean, like my heart is in kind of attainable things. Like when I get a bike to review, they're like, okay, we're going to send you the SRAM access with the carbon wheels. Like, no, just send the 105, send the Apex level, I'm fried in the comments, and it's not something I'd never buy like the top of spec bike personally. I'd buy that kind of, that magical,
the attainable.
There's the X. If this was Eric's channel, we'd have a chart, and it would have like beautiful like this. It'd be this.
Beautiful, such a very interesting way to put that, Mike.
Yeah.
Nice. I don't know. We're coming up to an hour. I don't know if we've solved this conundrum. I feel like we've talked about it in a way that isn't, I don't know, inflammatory like the Instagram post would.
Yeah, I guess I'd be curious to see what like the people watching who maybe did take part in the comments, like if what we said was what they expected, or if they're like, oh, like they didn't just like they didn't pick a group and say like all mountain bikers are the most elitist. and they will always judge you for not running Olin's 180 mil long suspension.
Yeah. I think every cyclist, no matter what, I think there's very few that never experience, again, we can coin this term, the elitist tendencies. At some point in your cycling, let's call it career path, you're going to have moments or like a section of time where you're going to have it. I think there's a turning point to where you're either going to experience an event or you're going to grow out of it, age or whatever it is wise, that you should kind of change that corner. Like, that's why I got into cross. Like, I got into cross because everyone was chill, because I rode road all the time and everyone's like, it's just a pissing contest every time I go out on the road. You go to a cross race and I would just share beers with everybody and everyone's having a good time. And like, I got somebody like handed me a piece of pizza while I'm like riding past them because they're like, dude, you look hungry. And then they're just like, like that was, I was like, this is rad. Like, that's why I liked cross riding, because like that elitism seemed to be away. Now, obviously there's still elitists within that group, but a majority seemed more, open, like just in general of inviting. So I think everybody goes through a phase, and sometimes that phase never ends. Sometimes it's real long, sometimes it's real short. And then sometimes something kicks you in the ass and you realize you're an asshole and you get out of it. So I think that's really what it boils down to for most people.
Yeah, I'd posted this on our Discord, and this user Megapope, who's a riot sometimes, was like, everyone's a little bit elitist, and it's fun to partake on occasion.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Like, because I've been that I ride a lot of different bikes, and I have been that in one way or another. Whoever I'm riding with, I've done things that, to think back, it is cringy. I was flexing, like basically anytime I'm riding something and I'm like I decide to show off like my BMX skills. Like, my friend Colin loves to make fun of me for ever saying like, I have a BMX background. And he's like, yeah, we know. Like, yeah, you hopped up on something. You like, I'm literally just a show off. Like, I'm just literally showing off. And like, he'll call me out for stuff like that because he's been around me for so long that he's just like, I know what you're doing. But then there's like mountain biking is probably the most humbling like place that I get put in my spot. Like when I'm like trying to do a corner and I'm like, I'm gonna roost this corner, and then I just like skid through it gingerly.
Watch the front wheel out and just like almost biff it. Yeah.
Like I'll video it and watch it after. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then like friends of mine who can just like rail corners all day will go by, and I'm like, you guys are assholes. And maybe that's part of it. Like maybe there might be a little bit of jealousy involved when you do want to call someone an elitist, where you're like, oh, here you are just showing off. Right. It's like, no, I just have some work to do. Like, you can't be mad at someone else for being better at something or having a better version than you, like, unless they're like, literally saying it. Like, I'm better at this and I have better gear than you. Like,
I do try, try to keep myself in check. Like when I see something that makes me angry or causes some animosity or it makes me want to rage comment, it's like, okay, am I feeling this because they're authentically being an elitist prick, or is it some kind of envy? And I think I wish more people would kind of take a step back and go through that process before like finger pointing.
I have a question for Zach. Is the like ambidextrous skidder still like a flex? Because I could never do that.
Not really, but wheeling definitely is.
Okay. Okay, I could see the wheelie thing makes sense. Yeah, but I would I could never skid both sides. Like I was just like, I had the one, and that was it. So I didn't know if that was like a thing still. I haven't ridden in a while, but yeah.
I mean, wheeling a fixed gear is like the coolest thing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be the best that you can be.
All right. Well, I'm going to take us home. What did we learn? Don't be a dick to others.
Write that down.
Write that down.
Yeah.
For all of you taking notes during this live stream, if it's live or later, please write that down.
Right. And surprisingly, not as like I don't know what people were expecting when we posted this video, but I think it's still possible to have interesting dialogue even on touchy subjects.
Yeah.
So, any last words before I take us home?
It's just good.
We'll be back. Will we be back next week? Question mark. Are we leaving this on a cliffhanger? We should.
I think I can
subscribe just in case.
Yeah,
just in case.
Zach, you're always welcome to join us.
Right.
You know, we don't always have to talk about gravel. We can talk about like larger bike themes.
Zach and I followed each other on Instagram like an hour ago.
Yeah, it's official.
It's official. That's a good way to end it.
He's like, is Zach still this like path of who? It's path less whittled. That's what it's turned into, by the way. It's just woodworking. It's gonna be
That's just bike hacks and just turn into a wood shop channel.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, just do the straight 90 degrees. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, and the RC cars. It'll be rad. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. There's still 141 people in the room, so you still have time to like, share this video. And we'll see you next week. Hopefully, Zach will join us again. And till next time, what was the call out or the
keep bikes weird?
Keep bikes weird.
Keep spikes weird.